So there's this one sound that resonates throughout the entire soundscape of the album. Can you hear it? It's this really distinctive sound, and if you listen closely to it, it reminds you of something. So I'll let you think about what that is, while we talk about how the genius of Jessie Murph was ahead of its time and paved the way for hip-hop and rap, decades before it existed. Jessie Murph was born in New Orleans, and his music career started off in church where he would sing bass. When he was just 13 years old, he formed his first band called the Pharaohs. By the time he was 7, he was already working as a session musician and had played with some of the biggest names in the industry, like Lightning Hopkins and Bobby Bland. And when he was 18, he recorded his first album, which went gold within 10 days of release. But in the early 1960s, Memphis was a hotbed for soul music. And so after serving 2 years in the Army, Murphy moved to Memphis to try and make it big. He hooked up with the legendary producer Jim Stewart and the Stax label, and the rest is history. You probably know that by now because you all came here to talk about the classic soul of 19... And I've got to be honest, when I first listened to this album, I wasn't sure what to expect. I mean, I knew it was important, but it had been a long time since I'd actually listened to it. But then I put it on, and the first few notes of the title track hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was hooked from that moment on. This album was released at a time of great social change in America. The civil rights movement was in full swing, and people were starting to demand equality and justice. And soul music was at the forefront of this movement. It was a genre that spoke to the struggles and triumphs of Black Americans and gave them a voice. And Jessie Murph was right there in the middle of it all. Now, it's impossible not to talk about this album without mentioning the incredible musicianship on display. From the tight horn section to the funky bass line to the powerhouse vocals, every note is in perfect harmony. My favorite track on the album is Respect Yourself. It's such an empowering anthem, and the horns just drive it home. But it's not just the music that makes this album so special. It's also the lyrics. They tackle important social issues like racism and inequality, but they do it in a way that is both thought-provoking and hopeful. Who's Gonna Make the World Go Round, for example, is a powerful call for unity and understanding. Meanwhile, Can't Get No Sleep is a haunting ballad about the struggle for freedom. These songs are not just timeless classics. They're also a testament to the power of music to inspire change. And that's why I think this album is still so relevant today. Even 5 decades later, the message of hope and resilience resonates with listeners all over the world. But there's more to this album than meets the eye. And that's where things get really interesting. There's a secret ingredient that makes this album truly unique. A sound that has become synonymous with hip-hop and rap. Now, you've probably heard this sound before, even if you don't realize it. It's that deep, resonant thump that sets hip-hop apart from other genres. But believe it or not, it was first introduced in soul music, specifically on this album. You see, the iconic amen break that you hear on so many hip-hop tracks was actually sampled from this song. The champ on the B side of the single Save Your Love For Me. And that's not the only influence this album has had on hip-hop. In fact, the entire album is a treasure trove of samples that producers have used to create some of the most iconic hip-hop tracks of all time. For example, the bass line from Soul Man was sampled in the notorious B.I.G. track Warning, and the drum break from K.O.E. and Get No Sleep is featured in Public Enemy's Fight the Power. Even the intro to Respect Yourself has been sampled by artists like Mobb Deep and Jay-Z in that sense. This album is like a building block of hip-hop history. It's the foundation on which countless tracks have been built. But it's not just the samples that make this album important to hip-hop culture. It's also the attitude. The raw energy and social commentary of soul music paved the way for the socially conscious rap of the 80s and 90s, and Jessie Murph was right in the middle of that movement. He was unafraid to speak his mind on controversial topics, and he was unafraid to use his music to make a difference. And that same spirit continues to live on in hip-hop today. From artists like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole to nonviolent protesters like Kanye West and Childish Gambino, young artists continue to follow in Murphy's footsteps and use their voices to speak out against injustice. In that sense, this album is like a time capsule that captures the essence of an era. It's a reminder of the struggles and triumphs of Black Americans in the mid-1960s and the role that music played in that story. But it's also a blueprint for future generations of artists who want to make a social impact with their music. And that's why it's so important to study the history of soul music and the influence it had on hip-hop. It's a story that is often overlooked, but it's a story that needs to be told. We need to remember the pioneers of soul like Jessie Murph and the impact they had on the world. And one of the best ways we can do that is by listening to their music and supporting artists who keep the tradition alive. So next time you hear an iconic hip-hop track, take a minute to appreciate the roots of the genre. Remember the trailblazers who came before us and the impact they had on shaping the culture we love today. Because without them, we wouldn't have the music we enjoy today. And that includes the legendary James Murphy and his masterpiece, the classic soul of 1965. If you made it to this point in the video, chances are you love music as much as I do. So, I've got a question for you. What's your favorite song from the Classic Soul album? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more music videos and all things music. And hey, if you're still thinking about that distinctive sound you heard at the beginning of the video, well, here's a hint. It's a sound that has become synonymous with a certain genre of music. Can you name that genre? Drop your answer in the comments below, and maybe you'll win a prize. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, keep listening and stay soulful. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.